A high school girl traced a serial killer using social media algorithms. When the police in the small town of Cedar Brook hit a dead end hunting the Shadowbrook Strangler, they begged the public for any information. But the three victims had no obvious connection. No one saw anything. No one, except for 17-year-old Chloe Chun, a quiet coding prodigy who noticed a pattern in the victims' social media feeds that was too precise to be a coincidence. Using an algorithm she built herself, she identified the one person who had interacted with all three girls online. But when she took her findings to the police, the lead detective laughed her out of the room. What happened next would prove that the youngest mind in the room is sometimes the one that sees the clearest. Before we start, like this video and comment, Algorithm Justice, if you stand with Chloe. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories. Now, let's begin. There's a particular kind of fear that lives in a small town after a tragedy. It doesn't roar, it whispers. It's in the way parents watch the clock a little more closely when their teenagers are out late, in the quickened pace of a walk home after dark, in the sudden popularity of self-defense classes at the community center. In the town of Cedar Brook, the fear had a name, the Shadowbrook Strangler. Three girls had vanished over 18 months, each after a party or a study session. Their bodies found weeks later in the dense woods surrounding Shadowbrook Lake. The police were inundated with tips, leads, and dead ends. The case was a specter haunting the town, a puzzle no one could solve. No one, that is, except for a quiet, observant high school junior named Chloe Chun, who understood the language of the modern world better than any detective, the language of social media algorithms. Chloe's world was one of quiet observation and pattern recognition, while her classmates lived their lives loudly on the surface of social media, posting carefully curated photos and witty captions. Chloe lived in the depths. She was a digital archivist, a hunter of trends and correlations. Her bedroom walls were not covered with posters of pop stars, but with sprawling mind maps connected by strings of colored yarn, charting the spread of misinformation campaigns and the rise of obscure internet subcultures for her debate team research. She saw the internet not as a place of connection, but as a vast, chaotic dataset, and every user was a data point waiting to be understood. The Cedar Brook PD had held a school assembly, urging students to be vigilant, to report anything suspicious. They'd handed out pamphlets with safety tips. Chloe had listened, but she knew the strangler wouldn't be caught by looking for a man in a dark coat. He would be caught by looking for a pattern in the noise. The injustice was a quiet, gnawing frustration. The third victim, Hannah Miles, had been a friend of a friend. They'd shared AP biology. Hannah was kind, funny, and had a seemingly perfect Instagram life. Her disappearance and the subsequent discovery of her body didn't feel random to Chloe. It felt personal. She watched the news reports, saw the police spokesman, Detective Miller, appeal for information. His face was kind but weary, his answers generic. "We are pursuing several promising leads," he'd say, but Chloe could see the emptiness behind his eyes. The system was overwhelmed, chasing phantoms. They were looking for a monster in the physical world, but Chloe was certain the monster's lair was digital. The official investigation was a blunt instrument. Chloe decided to wield a scalpel. The spark was a comment. A week after Hannah's funeral, Chloe was scrolling through Hannah's Instagram, not as a mourner, but as an investigator. She was looking for overlaps, for connections between Hannah and the first two victims, Sarah and Madison. They went to different schools, had different friends, different interests. On the surface, they were random, but Chloe dug deeper. She wasn't looking at their posts. She was looking at the engagement, the likes, the comments, the shares. She used a browser plugin. She coded herself to scrape data from their public profiles, building a database of every interaction over the past 2 years. And then she saw it. On a post of Hannah's from 6 months ago, a picture of her hiking at Shadowbrook Lake. There was a comment from a user named @ForestWatcher22. "Beautiful shot. You really capture the light through the pines. That's my favorite trail too." The comment was innocuous, polite, but the username sent a chill down Chloe's spine. She cross-referenced it. @ForestWatcher22 had commented on a photo of the first victim, Sarah, taken at a different part of the lake a year prior. "Looks peaceful. I go there to think sometimes." And on a post from victim number 2, Madison, a picture of a sunset. Stunning. The colors over the water are magic this time of year. 3 victims, 1 commenter. It could be a coincidence. But Chloe's algorithm, which weighted factors like comment uniqueness, timing, and semantic similarity, flagged at Forest Watcher 22 as a 94% probability match for a targeted pattern of engagement. He wasn't a friend or a follower. He was a ghost, hovering at the edges of their digital lives, offering quiet, specific praise. He was grooming them with validation. The police had missed it because they were looking for overt threats, for creepy messages. This was far more insidious. The digital investigation became an all-consuming obsession. Chloe's room became a command center. Her coding skills were now a weapon. She wrote scripts to analyze at Forest Watcher 22's behavior. His account was a ghost town. No posts, no bio, few followers. But it liked over 10,000 photos, almost exclusively of young women in the Cedar Brook area. His pattern was meticulous. He would like a dozen or so photos from a potential target over several weeks, then leave a single, thoughtful comment on a photo that showed a location. He wasn't interested in their selfies. He was interested in their habits, their routines, their favorite secluded spots. Chloe created a map of every location mentioned or tagged the photos he had engaged with. A clear pattern emerged. Shadowbrook Lake was the epicenter, but he favored specific, isolated trails and overlooks. He was a hunter studying his prey from a distance, learning their paths. She tried to trace his IP address, but he used a sophisticated VPN that bounced his signal across different countries. He was careful. He was smart. The revelation came not from a mistake he made, but from a pattern Chloe's AI uncovered. She trained a machine learning model on his commenting history. The model identified a subtle linguistic fingerprint, a preference for certain uncommon adjectives like verdant and liminal, a specific cadence to his sentences. She set the AI loose to scour the entire internet for a matching writing style. Days later, it returned a hit, a series of posts on a niche online forum for nature photographers, under the username Pine Lightseeker. The user had posted beautiful, almost clinically precise photographs of Shadowbrook Lake. And in the comments, he engaged in debates about camera lenses and aperture settings with the same unique, polite, yet pedantic tone as at Forest Watcher 22. And on this account, he had made a fatal error. 5 years ago, before he was as careful, he had posted a photo of a stunning sunrise, and in the corner of the shot, reflected in the lake's still water, was the blurred but unmistakable silhouette of a man holding the camera, and behind him, the distinct facade of the Cedar Brook Public Library. Chloe's heart hammered against her ribs. She had him, not just a username, but a place. She cross-referenced the library's employee roster from 5 years ago with the list of members from the local photography club. One name appeared on both lists: Robert Alden, a quiet, unassuming part-time librarian who ran the library's teen reading program. He was in his late 40s, balding, kindly. He was everyone's nice Mr. Alden. He had even helped Chloe herself find research materials for a history project. The banality of it was horrifying. The monster wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was recommending young adult fantasy novels in the quiet hushes of the library. She compiled everything: the data scrapes, the network analysis, the linguistic fingerprinting, the photo analysis, his name and address. She sent it all in an encrypted email to Detective Miller, her fingers trembling. She didn't sign her name, only called herself a concerned citizen. She waited. For 2 days, nothing. The fear that her evidence would be dismissed as the ramblings of a paranoid teenager was paralyzing. Then, on the 3rd day, she saw the police cars, their lights silent, gathered a block from the library, outside a small, well-kept cottage. She watched from a distance as Detective Miller himself led Robert Alden out in handcuffs. His face was not that of a monster, but of a sad, confused man, the perfect disguise. The resolution was not celebratory, but deeply sobering. The town hailed an anonymous tipster as a hero. The police gave a press conference praising new digital forensic techniques. Chloe received no public credit, and she wanted none. A week later, a plain white envelope was left in her school mailbox. Inside was a letter from Detective Miller. I don't know who you are, it read, but you have a mind that sees things the rest of us miss. What you did wasn't just clever, it was groundbreaking. We found trophies in his house, hair ribbons, IDs, from victims we didn't even know about. You stopped a monster and gave families answers they never thought they'd get. The Cedar Brook PD is creating a new digital forensics liaison role, a consultant position. The first person I'd like to offer it to is you. No one else would ever have to know. Think about it. Chloe folded the letter and put it in her pocket. She looked at her computer, at the sprawling maps and lines of code that caught a killer. She thought of Hannah, Sarah, and Madison. The fear in Cedar Brook would slowly recede, but would never truly leave. And neither would she. She had learned that the most dangerous predators no longer lurk in physical shadows. They hide in plain sight, in the comment sections of our lives. And the only way to find them is to speak their language, the cold, logical, and utterly ruthless language of the algorithm. She had wanted to solve a puzzle. Instead, she had found her life's work. The quiet had given her the answer, and now, she would never stop listening. Chloe Chin proved that a brilliant mind doesn't need a badge to serve justice. Sometimes, it just needs a laptop and the courage to question everything. If you believe that the next generation holds the key to solving our biggest problems, like this video, subscribe to Digital Detective and share this story. Comment below, what pattern would you want an algorithm to uncover?